So hello everyone again, and thank you for this opportunity to discuss the recently concluded AMOS project. So my name is Dr. Sofia Lindstro, and I was the project leader for Work Package 1. And perhaps you have heard this concept before, the art as social sculpture. It is a quote by Joseph Beuys, a German artist who was a radical inclusionist. He believed that all aspects of life can be approached creatively, and therefore everyone is an artist. So the AMAS consortium consisted of universities and design art collectives in 8 countries. So Sweden and the UK, the University of Leeds actually, Portugal, Italy, Hungary, the Czech Republic, Finland, and Malta. And Finland, the University of Lapland was the project coordinator institution. So these were the objectives of the project. One was to develop multidisciplinary methods for capturing, assessing, and harnessing the societal impact of the arts. Objective 2 was to reduce isolation amongst women, children, and minority groups from peripheral EU regions through various forms of participation in the arts. Objective 3 was to educate women and children through various educational models and participation philosophies informed by arts-based approaches. Objective 4 was to evaluate and develop new policy frameworks for using arts to overcome societal challenges. And finally, Objective 5, valuing and learning through alternative knowledge systems to decolonize institutions, enable communication, and implement policies. So the main methodology through which the project worked towards these objectives were arts-based initiatives in participatory processes with marginalized communities in each respective consortium member countries. And before I go on to present the test bed of artistic interventions, I would like to briefly discuss the work in VP1 that we did here at the University of Borås. Oh, and I forgot to say that I was supposed to be presenting here with Abel Andrade, a Portuguese filmmaker and musician, but unfortunately Abel could not participate because he got a film commission. So perhaps you know that it's kind of hard to make an income as an artist, so you need to prioritize paid commissions, paid work. So VP1 aimed to provide the other AMAS partners with a systematic literature review and analysis of previous artistic projects to understand the limitations and possibilities of previous theory and practice. We collected research abstracts from the AMAS consortium for our first literature review, and our findings indicated that the social impact of the arts can be understood in 3 ways. As a participatory means to 1, create opportunities for personal agency, 2, empower the expression of identities and experiences, and 3, foster learning and development. And the understanding of art as a tool for foster learning and development is especially relevant to the argument that individuals and groups can overcome structural constraints of marginalization. And the data also indicated that artistic practice is a situated product of local socio-cultural contexts in which people act as agents who can transform their lived experiences. However, in this characterization, the root causes of marginalization are sometimes left unaddressed. For our second literature review, we provided insights into categories, patterns, and trends in the field, the social impact of the arts, using bibliometric methods for capturing and visualizing connections between papers that cite the same resources and use the same keywords in their research. And through searchers in relevant databases, we created a corpus of over 10,000 articles that make up this growing field of research. And by performing a cohort analysis, we identified topic clusters that constitute overlapping yet distinctive epistemological and methodological subfields present on the slide here. Sorry. The red cluster represents, oh, I have pollen allergy, I'm very sorry. The red cluster represents social sciences and humanities research on the meaning of arts and culture. And the blue cluster represents education research on the meaning of arts for learning and skills outcomes. And finally, the green cluster represents research on the arts as a means of health and well-being. And as this graph indicates, the social impact of the arts as a research field is growing, with an almost exponential increase in publications from 1990 to the present. We also conceptualized the research front as a collection of the most cited articles in our corpus. And we found that the research front of the social impact of the arts investigates populations experiencing marginalizations, such as minorities, refugees, and other disadvantaged groups. However, it was not the most frequent theme in the research. The most frequent theme was educational impact, particularly regarding skills enhancement and knowledge dissemination in formal learning settings, such as schools. And other themes included fostering ethical and moral behavior in audiences and participants, health and well-being, community empowerment, and identity. We also delineated what we call the negative impact of the arts that we found in the data, such as using the arts to silence marginalized voices. And this perspective, we believe, can help cultural institutions to critically examine their histories and influence in local communities to prevent any perpetuation of romanticized views that art will always have a universally positive effect and will always benefit all communities. And here you can see some of the social effects of the arts that we explored in our culture, in our corpus, sorry. So the AMAS testbed of artistic interventions was made up of 35 arts-based experiments applied across Europe. And this testbed set out then to capture and assess the impacts of arts on individuals and communities, and then relate these findings to policy making. And the experiments, they were implemented in 2021, and they lasted from 3 months to 1 year. And the AMAS project also made a lot of work to engage different stakeholders, artists, cultural organizations, local authorities, also NGOs, I should say, and policymakers at an institutional level and at a local level. And the workshops were conducted, or at least many of them were conducted in online environments due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And it was also very challenging, of course, as you can imagine. So here were some of the challenges and objectives that these testbeds aim to address. As you can see here, the project used a very broad understanding of marginalization and also very broad understanding of the arts or culture. So I can just move on. So you can see a little bit more about the kind of participant and communities that were part of this project. So persons with intellectual or physical disabilities, persons living with HIV, participants from sub-Saharan Africa, adult women, elderly women, teachers, and children with social or other disadvantages, and the Roma communities, families, artists, youth, performers, health workers, and social workers. And I wanted to show you an example of a movie from Portugal, where Abel has given me permission to show. And I realized that this is not very accessible because it's in Portuguese, but there are English subtitles. I hope maybe that this is about 2 minutes long, so I hope it works. So
Proporcionar mais mundos às pessoas e é isso que nós sentimos com isto, com o Hamas e com a PAPEC. Conseguimos proporcionar mais coisas além do que nós fazemos e do que nós sabemos e do que nós temos connosco para ensinar. As palavras do Carlos e da Juliana no início, quando falaram dos sentimentos que geram nas pessoas mais do que as ações, é isso que nós, muitas vezes, quando participamos neste projeto, é isso que nós queremos. Nós notamos que as pessoas estão a ganhar qualquer coisa, estão diferentes. Os olhos brilham mais, ficam mais contentes. É sempre uma alegria quando vem alguém de fora trabalhar com eles.
Nós todos aprendemos, conseguimos em conjunto partilhar assim, muito bons momentos e ficar com boas memórias para o longo da vida de nós todos.
Yes. So, one important outcome of the project was a policy white paper where we developed needs and recommendations that are briefly summarized here in this slide. So basically, the knowledge that we gathered in this project, we try to make them accessible for policymakers. And these are the identified needs that we were discussing: the sustainability and diversification in funding, and more robust and diverse assessment of project outcomes, participatory and intersectional governance in decision-making about funding, and broadening social participation in culture and the arts. And you are free to read this in the AMA's webpage. So this is the last video I would like to show. It's also about 2 minutes. And in this project, we created a massive online course that is free to take. So I hope you can hear this.
Have been trying to respond to the values, to the core values of socially engaged art, to give room and respect for the community's values, community's needs, and developed ways how to use social engagement in artistic processes to respond to these needs.
This lesson is for everyone interested in a unique way of communicating through different languages and art. Everyone who wants to learn about the deaf world and who enjoys visiting art museums.
This learning unit aims to teach you how to apply a participatory design approach in your work.
Hello. Engaging communities in the arts provides a combination of practical ideas related to applied theatre, community-based arts practice, and hands-on arts project development.
where me and my colleagues from the University of Borås in Sweden will provide you with perspectives on the socially engaged arts and culture policy in Europe.
Permitindo aos participantes do projeto revisitar as memórias dos momentos que vivenciaram como forma de transformação social e empoderamento comunitário. Vemos como as diversas possibilidades de registar e arquivar cada momento no desenvolvimento do projeto podem auxiliar na reflexão dos participantes sobre o passado, o presente e o futuro.
We hope to help you build practical skills of working with others on the development of socially engaged arts projects.
In this module, we're going to be focusing on how visual storytelling works, how you can find good stories, plan and create your own, and then actually send it out to your audience so you can reach as many people as you possibly can.
Thank you. That was what I had to share with you from the AMAS project.